All right, folks, welcome to another day with Mr. Flores. We are going to continue using our watercolor pencils. And today you will need a cup of water, a rag to dry your brush, one brush, preferably a flat one. If not, you can use a regular one. And of course, your color pencils. I went ahead and printed out this sheet and what this is, or made this sheet. And it is obviously techniques for using watercolor pencils, tips and tricks. All right. There are 10 different ways to use watercolor pencils, and I'm going to show you how to use these today. Later on, we are going to be doing a project where we use watercolor pencils, and I want it to be up to you and how do you use those watercolor pencils. So let's do this first one. This first one is called solid color. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit. And solid color is basically just your regular watercolors, okay? Or basically your regular coloring. And when we color, the trick isn't to, if you want that nice deep color, isn't to press very hard onto the paper. The trick is to just layer it, and you layer it several times to get that dark, nice, rich pigment color. Again, don't press harder, just layer it, okay? And that technique is just layering, and it's also called solid color because it's just that one color. And again, I'm adding it. You can see how it's getting darker and darker. I go ahead and wet my paintbrush, and I take off any excess on the lid of the paint, the lid of the cup, and you can see how that's nice and flowy. And you can see eventually that nice red color. And I'm gonna need some more water. That nice red color can flow. All right, the next one is called gradient. Gradient is when you have that gradual from dark to lightness, all right? And we can achieve that with our watercolors. I'm going to go ahead and get it blue, but you can get whatever color you like. And also when I did the red, you can also have gotten whatever color you like as well. So gradient, I'm going to go ahead and push a little bit harder. And I'm going to, as I come to the right, just get a little bit less and less of that color. Again, I'm going to layer it darker right here. And our goal is to get from light to dark. Again, wet my paintbrush. Take any of that red that was on there before. And I'm going to gradually just go to the right, and you can see how there's leftover blue until I get to almost white. I go backwards so I can push that water the other way around. And now I have that nice dark blue, that gradient to light. All right. The next one is called pencil as watercolor paint. So I have put these splotches here, or these splats here, on purpose. What you're going to do is simply, I'm going to get my green, and we're going to color that in. And what we're going to do is sort of like make watercolor without having to draw inside the part where we want. So I'm going to go ahead and get green. And what colors can make green? Let's do green and blue. I'm going to head and get my water, take any excess off, and I'm going to get just and build that green up where I can get some green on my paintbrush. And now I have some green without actually putting the watercolor pencil on the paper. So you can do this off to the side and say you just want a small amount of green without having to actually draw on it. All right, and that is our pencil as watercolor paint. And I have that blue one there just for a second, and you'll see why. The next one, it is called wet pencil with brush. All right, so go ahead and clean our paintbrush. And what we do is we have our paintbrush wet, and I'm going to go ahead and get some yellow. And we're going to get our paintbrush, and it's like we're painting the paintbrush. what we're doing is we're grabbing that color from it, from directly from the pencil, and we can paint with that. See that nice yellow color? And this is again another technique without having to actually draw or color to the paper. So say you just need a quick small amount really quickly, so you're going to grab some from the pencil and then put it onto the paper. All right, the next ones I kind of want you to do on your own. I have on here gradient with 2 colors. So what happens if you mix maybe blue on this side and purple on this side and then combine them together? Or you can do one on top, one on bottom. So I want you to try with 2 colors, the same technique, but with 2 colors. This next one says pencil as watercolor paint with 2 colors. So I did this one right here. I did green and then I did blue. So I want you to put these 2 colors into this box square right here. This one down here says wet 2 pencils with a brush. So the same thing, you're going to wet 2 pencils instead of just 1 pencil. And I want to see those 2 colors in there. This next one, you're going to need scissors. I'm sorry, you need the scissors in your supply. This one's called shaving, all right? So you're going to get your paper wet with just a paintbrush and make sure it's clean so there's no color on there. And you don't want a puddle of water, but you do want a semi, dampness, some wet on your paper. Now what I'm going to do is get my magenta. I'm going to get my scissors and I'm going to scrape off a little, and you can see that cool effect of that color dyeing in there. You can even get 2 colors. So maybe I'll get magenta and then I'll get this cool other pink. And what's happening is that color pencil is dissolving. You can even move it around by getting and then just going once. And you have that cool effect as well. So say you want that dot effect, but you don't move it anymore. So that's another one. That's called shaving. This one's called paint splatter. All right, I'm going to show you how to do this one. This one, you get your color pencil and you wet it. And then you simply tap. And this is a cool way. Oh, I started to splat over there. But again, you wet it. And this is a cool way to splatter paint and make little dots. So that, again, that one's called paint splatter. The next one is on the left, wet paper draw. So this one, you're going to wet the paper again. You don't want a puddle of paper, but just simply get it nice and nice coverage of water in there. You don't have to have, like I say, not a puddle of water, just a nice coverage layering of water. And then you're going to draw directly on there. This just all depends on what you want to draw on here and what kind of type of effect you want. But it all comes out different sometimes depending on the watercolors you're using, watercolor pencils, and you can see how it's sort of just dissolving that color. And that's if you probably want that color or not, that effect. The last one is called blotting or dab. Blotting or dab is, say we get our watercolor. I'm going to get some blue. And we paint it directly from the pencil. But say you really wanted a very, very light blue and that was way too dark. So we get our rag or napkin and we blot it and we can pick it up, whatever was on there. And then we can go again if we thought we picked up too much. So you see how it's getting darker. But say you thought that was too dark, so you pick it right back up. and it sort of disappears. You can do this effect with clouds or something else. This one's intentionally meant blank. That's just if you wanted to experiment. All right, guys, can't wait to see all your tips and tricks and see how they come out.